Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Echo Pod. I'm Quincel, one of the Echo program coordinators. And to my right, we have.
What is up, everyone? My name is Kevin Sunga. I am the ECHO, Equity and COVID and Health Outcomes Program Director. And then to my far left is...
Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Dr. Freddie Ray. I'm a critical care pharmacist and also the creator of Traumacist RX, which is a YouTube channel, IG, and TikTok social media platform where you can learn about health literacy and improve your health knowledge.
Awesome. Today's episode will be about allergies and mitigation.
So should we start out by, we're going to get into the details, but should we start talking about what we actually take for allergies?
Yeah, like what's your allergy stack? What is it looking like?
Bam!
So what do you got?
Today?
This is like a show and tell moment right now.
I have two of the same medication, but I don't take it double. I'm just wanted to make a point that, so most of the time I take Allegra, but I found out at Costco they have Allerfex, which is way cheaper, and it's the same medication, fexofenadine. Once a day. All right. Next.
Nice. I like yours. Quincel, would you like to go next?
Mine is cetirizine, which is the same as Zyrtec. And then I have Allerflow, which has fluticasone propionate. I don't know if I said that correctly. But it's a spray, and then you just do one spray each nostril. And then I have Vapo Inhaler. Yes.
You got the forbidden inhaler.
All Filipinos have this in their households in different forms, like the rub or this.
Vicks cures everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% proven.
I don't want to spread any misinformation. Doesn't cure
That was
everything. Just
not
makes you feel
pharmacist
good.
approved. That statement was not approved.
My stack is actually pretty small. So what's crazy is I didn't really get allergies until I moved here to Stockton. Yeah.
Actually, same.
Yeah. So you're the same way too. It's and we're gonna talk about that too. Is about the air quality here. But this is my stack. It's a little Vicks Vapor Rub Candy lozenge, which I think zooms in. Here you go. Which I'm actually gonna take because my throat's kind of irritated today. But no, it is kind of wild. Like I'm sorry, actually, because of allergies, I'm actually starting to take a little bit of what you've presented. And I actually was prescribed some meds through Kaiser. So yeah, no, my stack is not as, robust as yours. But I mean, that is the reality for a lot of residents here.
Yeah. I think that there's so many different options, both over-the-counter prescriptions, things that aren't well studied, home remedies. And today I think we want to start off by introducing allergies, how to treat it for the most part, and what causes them. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I forgot to bring actually was, I think it's Vicine, like the eye drops.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that I do have in my backpack. I'm sorry, I forgot it.
Oh, nice.
We have Vice.
Yeah.
Visine? Oh, we have Visine. Hey.
That's not how you take it. But
If you want
wow,
to.
okay, we all have our allergy
All right.
stuff.
So, so as you can tell, in a sample size of 4 people, including Narang, our tech person over here who helps us out with everything, tech master. It's a 100% population is affected by allergies in Stockton.
We're all affected on this podcast.
100%.
But on a serious note, many of the people that listen to our podcast are affected by allergies. And so, Quincel, do you want to kind of kick it off with what allergies are?
Yeah, so there's allergies that are non-allergic and allergic. And we have, so allergies are also called allergic rhinitis or hay fever. And it's a condition when allergens are triggers such as pet fur, pollen, dust mites, dust, or other foreign chemicals such as perfumes or smoke or like the air quality make their way into our airway and interact with our body's immune system, which leads us to a variety of symptoms that Dr. Freddie will go into.
Yeah, so some of the most common symptoms that you at home probably feel when you have allergies are like congestion, sneezy, itchy eyes, runny nose, that post-nasal drip, which can actually cause sore throat, coughing, and even fatigue, which is something that's not really like a physical symptom, but more mental. So you're not with it every day, or, you kind of have some brain fog, which we talked about with COVID, but can actually happen with allergies.
And then what's the other type of rhinitis. So there's like
Oh, so
non-allergic.
non-allergic. So non-allergic rhinitis has some of the same symptoms as allergic rhinitis, but the only thing is, the only difference is that when these patients go to talk to their healthcare provider, they can't figure out what the trigger is. So randomly they'll have these symptoms and it won't be allergy season, or they'll do allergy tests such as like an IgE test, which you can test for like, oh, I'm allergic to peanuts, I'm allergic to pollen, that sort of thing, will all be negative, which means they're not allergic to anything. Some other causes of like non-allergic rhinitis that we aren't going to go into detail today, but just for an FYI, some people might have problems with their like nasal cavities where they'll require surgery, or sometimes the vessels in their nose might tighten up or cause them to have a sensation of congestion. So, yeah.
And Freddie, and I know you both talked about a little bit of the symptoms. You know, what I'm hearing is congestion, sneezing, itchy eyes, runny nose, postnasal drip, fatigue, coughing. You know, spring season is upon us, and, you know, allergy season is kicking up. But what's really tough to differentiate is between cold, flu, and also like allergies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So some of the major things that are different between cold, flu, and or COVID, cold, flu, and allergies has to do with fever. Fever and chills is the biggest indication or most common indication for an infection. So whether you have COVID or the cold, you're more likely to have a fever. So, you know, when you check your temperature, it's above, you know, like 99, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Whereas with allergies, you might have some of the other similar symptoms that we talked about, cough, congestion, that sort of thing. Another thing that might be common is that with allergies, they only happen at certain times of the year for certain people. So we talk about the different seasons, and we'll talk about what sorts of allergens are in those seasons in a second. But with the cold, it can usually happen year round. Yeah. So depending on, you know, what sorts of viruses are flying around, you know, RSV, we have COVID, respiratory syncytial virus, which is RSV, metapneumovirus, the common flu. Depending on what sort of season we're in, you might see it at a time when you're not actually having allergies. Yeah. And also, allergy medication will help hopefully resolve the symptoms of allergies, whereas if you take Allegra for a cold, it's not going to help you.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess one more difference, now that I just thought about it, is with a cold, it's usually gone within, 5 to 14 days, whereas allergies, it's constant. Every day, it's the same symptoms. And if you don't treat it or you don't find ways to get rid of the triggers, then you're going to have your allergy symptoms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from your stack, I know you presented your amazing stacks. If you want to show it to the yeah, I want to show it to the audience again. So, I know little maracas of pills. So let's say, I guess this is going to be sort of an offhand question for you, Freddie. Yeah. And then also from experience, if you know Quincell. But let's say if I have a cold and I take like Allerflow, it's allergy relief med, will there be any adverse effects?
Adverse effects. So as far as I can tell, not necessarily. Yeah. I'd say that it would definitely help dry up your nose, that sort of thing. Okay. Some adverse effects that I do notice when people do take nasal sprays, for instance, is sometimes they point the nasal spray into their nose and they snort it really like hard, and the medication can go into their nose or into their throat and cause them to have irritation. So that's one of the things that is most common with that medication. Yeah. Another thing is some people don't clean the tip of the nasal spray, so you can actually take off the nasal spray tip and like wash it off with soap and water. But as far as like cold and flu and that sort of thing, it won't necessarily help unless you have like allergies on top of that. Yeah. Yeah. So usually for cold and flu, I know we're kind of getting on a slight tangent. When you have congestion in your nose or something like that, you might want to use like a decongestant. So like Tylenol, cold and flu. Yeah.
That has guaifenesin in it.
Yeah, guaifenesin will help loosen up the mucus, that sort of thing. Yeah. Dextromethorphan will help with the coughing. So that's kind of different. It's a different pathway of treating different things. So cold is kind of a different sort of monster than allergies. Really quick, so the nasal sprays like fluticasone, which is the Allerflow, that's a steroid. So it will help relax the muscles in the nasal passage. Yeah.
No. Thanks for clearing that up.
No, yeah, that's a great question. I think before we actually dive into the treatments and stuff, should we talk about seasonality? Like what sorts of allergens happen in each season?
Yeah. I think it'd be great to talk about.
And while we're kind of like getting those notes together, I have allergies year round. I don't know about you guys. Have just in the spring?
Well, like moving here, when I discovered it, I think it started in the fall for me, and then it became more apparent in the spring.
Okay, so do you consider that year round, or is it just it starts in the fall, the summer you take a break?
Yeah, the summer not so much,
Got it.
but that's why like I didn't know if I had a cold or not or allergies because it was new to me like after moving here, and then as the years went on, I'm like, okay, there's a pattern. So it's like starting in the fall when it's colder weather, and then springtime.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The winter, I feel like it kind of takes a break. Maybe because I'm indoors more when it's cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my triggers are usually like from the outdoors,
Yeah.
like pollen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. How about you, Kevin?
No, what I'm learning is mostly spring. Like,
Mostly spring?
It's mostly spring, but I'm new to the game when it comes to allergies. It's
Welcome
Thank
to
you very
Welcome.
much. I feel indoctrinated being here in the Central Valley. It is the spring, but wood burnings do irritate my nose. Yeah,
You said
'cause
wood burning?
Wood burning.
Oh,
Yeah. So
okay.
there's I know it kind of ties in with sort of like I know allergies is its own sort of category, but even like pollutants who that really affect the air quality that for those who already have like asthma or who are already sensitive to allergies, they could react sometimes violently to it. So for me, especially during the winter time, now I moved to a neighborhood where wood burning is very prevalent, because there's just usually smaller homes, so it's more economical to burn wood.
Okay.
And so yeah, for me, like I couldn't stay outside too much. So I guess that's the environmental factor to also for me to keep track of, and to just be mindful of. But it's spring. I lucked in. I really have. So yeah, for the for the year round, like now I feel your pain because like my fiance is the same way. Like she takes probably all of this,
Oh, wow.
just to make sure that she runs okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I mean, we'll go through a list of seasons and what to expect for each like allergy sort of situation. But yeah, for me, if I don't take Allegra like year round, and I mean, I do give myself kind of like a allergy medication vacation. Like once a week, I won't take or on the weekends, if I don't have symptoms, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah.
One, that saves money, and two, that kind of helps clear it out of my system and, kind of see like where I'm at, like at baseline. So anyways, that's really like expert advice, not really, but that's what I do personally. Year round, like in the colder weather, usually I don't have that many allergies, but if I'm indoors or I'm doing something whether it's dusty or something like that, my allergies will just wake back up.
Just
But-
kick back in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must have been really hard for you during the wildfire season.
Oh yeah, like and also an interesting fact is I had adult onset asthma. So like as a kid, I think I was diagnosed with asthma, but then it kind of just like subsided. It doesn't really go away, right? It's just kind of, you have your periods. Yeah, because it's a chronic disease. And it wasn't until I moved here where it really got exacerbated and I had to get emergency inhalers. Because I didn't feel like I needed it. So yeah, during wildfire season, I was it was very irritated. Like even that huge fire that happened in Paradise, California, a couple of years ago, and it was traveling all the way here, all the way to the Bay, and it looked nearly apocalyptic with the sun being blocked out.
Oh yeah.
And the ash falling from the.
Yeah, that was scary. That was
Yeah.
like a volcano movie. But no, it's it's
But that's
just,
true.
It's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, you could see all the ash everywhere. You're breathing it in, and it's like, oh, that's.
Amidst the pandemic, too.
Yeah, and during the pandemic, so I kind of upgraded from like a regular mask to like KNs at that time, even though it wasn't really like a popular thing to do, or a common thing to do, just to help like decrease the amount of debris getting into my lungs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So going off of that, like based on our research,
Yep.
for Northern California region, so during the winter time, there's indoor allergens like dust, pet dander, mold, cockroaches, and the cooler months that come about. And then during the springtime, that marks the beginning of tree allergy season. And then during the summer, there's grass allergy season. And the fall, there's weeds allergy season.
That explains a lot.
I know. If you put it into the cycle of seasons, it makes sense. Like winter season, I didn't even think about like indoor allergens like dust, pet dander. is because our pets have to be indoors. You know,
That's true. Yeah. Or
The factor.
you're less likely to open your windows, so things kind of can accumulate, or like with like severe weather and it's raining, bugs and that sort of thing can like
Crawling.
are more likely to crawl into your spaces or where you work and things like that, or even like if you go to a restaurant, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like other sorts of things that don't usually go indoors will come indoors.
Yeah, the ventilation is all kept inside.
Yeah, or even like when the weather is wetter, you're like more likely to get mold.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
or like leaky pipes and that sort of thing. So it's definitely something that I usually don't think about, but now kind of like talking this through with you guys and that sort of thing, it's like something that I'm kind of like aware of, like, oh, maybe I should just double check this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think, like, do I invest in air filters? There's that huge thing, like, there's different air filters, and like also shout out to Dawn team to the decreasing asthma within neighborhoods. Yes, that team. And just to uplift their work, what they do is they do home assessments. And it's usually a phased program where residents get to get surveyed, and like after doing sort of a house assessment, they provide an air filter, and it's a small one. I mean, it's a small one, but it does really good work. We have one in our home, and it's a good quality one as well. But some things to consider, especially during the winter season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's larger ones that are coming out there, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, of like the AB 617 work, which is like reducing pollution, specifically in high pollutant areas like here in the Central Valley. There's a lot of measures done by community-based organizations like ourselves, as with in partnership with California Air Resource Board and San Joaquin Valley Air District. So I could talk about that a little bit more, but what you're saying of of all these seasons is just stay prepared and stay equipped. Have your medication. Yeah,
I think to go along with that, the number one thing to get rid of your allergies is to take away the triggers. Yeah. So kind of like we talked about in other conversations with asthma, like remove the triggers. It's the same thing with allergies in a way, because it's affecting. So the way it works with allergies is your triggers, so pet dander, pollen, whatever it is, will activate your immune system, causing you to release what we call histamine, which causes all the symptoms that we just talked about. And so number one thing, get rid of the trigger. So air filter is a great thing to do. Have your house inspected for any mold or that sort of thing. Yeah. Clean regularly, or if you're in a season where you're going to have allergies, clean before that season, or even like year round. Yeah. So, and if that doesn't work, we need to move on to maybe something else. So medication wise, histamine's the thing that's created by your allergens, and that causes all the symptoms. To get rid of histamine, you use medications called antihistamines. Ooh.
That's intense.
These. So
anti.
Are you ready to get into it? Or I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So antihistamines, there's two different types: the sleepy ones and the non-sleepy ones. So the sleepy ones that we know of are like Benadryl. So one of the most common medications that we do see treated for allergies, kind of like incorrectly, would be Benadryl. So why would we not use Benadryl first line? Number one, it can make people very, very sleepy. So if you operate a motor vehicle, you have to study for class or anything like that. If you're taking Benadryl first thing in the morning, you're going to be sleepy the whole day or drowsy. So that's the sleepy one, but there's non-sleepy ones, luckily. So going in order of like maybe the first line one you might want to try is Claritin or Loratadine. Second line would probably be something like Allegra or Fexofenadine. So here, just kind of like a side note, I have Allerfex from Costco, sponsor us. No, I'm just kidding.
For real,
but if you just look at the generic name, so this is Allegra, which costs maybe like 2 times more than Allerfex, or even like the Target brand or Up and Up or whatever CVS brand. So double check with your pharmacist or physician, like what is the generic name? Because they're the same medication. It's just one costs more than the other. Yeah. So anyways, so the
second line?
Usually most people will start on Claritin. I would say that they're kind of all on the same playing field, but Claritin's like the most mild. So a lot of children will get started on Claritin first because it's a low dose. It comes in a liquid formulation, so it's easy for people to swallow. It also comes in like a dissolvable tablet. So if the kid doesn't know how to swallow tablets, but they don't want liquid because it doesn't taste good to them, they can put the little dissolvable tablet under their tongue. So that's Claritin. This is fexofenadine, which is Allegra, and then the third one is the one that you take, which is Zyrtec or cetirizine. So there's 4 medications right there that you can try. A lot of people will start with like Claritin, and if that doesn't work for a while, they'll switch to something else. Some studies are kind of iffy on if that's even helpful, but go for it and try it. There's a lot of different doses. There's like once a day, twice a day, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I spoke with an allergist when I first got allergies coming to the Central Valley. So they did start me off with Claritin, but then I think there was like Claritin and then Claritin D.
Right,
So what's the biggest difference?
Yeah, so Claritin D has an extra ingredient that's now leaving my brain. But basically, it's another decongestant that helps not only with the allergies, but with like the stuffy nose and that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah. Because that was the first one they had me try, and then it didn't work out as well. And then I was alternating between Allegra and Zyrtec, but Zyrtec is cheaper for me, so
Oh,
went
I
with
see.
Zyrtec.
Yeah. Definitely, that's something to also think about too. And if you don't mind me asking, was that covered under like your insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have over-the-counter medications, but if you want to save more money,
Exactly.
see if you can get it covered under your insurance, which most of these medications can. You just have to ask your pharmacy team, hey, can we just double check if my insurance covers that?
Yeah.
And usually they can double check. Takes usually a few minutes.
I got a question, Freddie.
Yeah.
Why is there a drowsy excuse me, why is there a drowsy option when it comes to allergy meds?
Yeah, so it's not that we made these options, but Benadryl is a way older medication than the non-drowsy one. So how we learned it in school is there's first generation antihistamines and second generation antihistamines. So the first generation ones are usually have more side effects for every medication class. Benadryl just so happens to be one that its formulation's more sleepy, and that probably has to do with one of the chemical compounds in it. But labs and scientists after that figured out a way to make that better, like the receptor or whatever, that decreases histamine, less sleepy. Yeah, so without getting into too much sciencey stuff, that's you're kind of clipping the bad parts of Benadryl and into these. That's kind of how I would think about it. Even though it probably isn't 100% accurate, it's the thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting to know because you would think like you would want like the most efficient, right? Like, like there's a sleepy option, but it's like a lot of us in this age, we use machinery. Like whether you're driving or like we're on our phones all the time too. So you're doing something. So you would think that would kind of be phased out. So it's interesting that it's still with us, but probably because it's a very effective medication.
Well, yeah. So kind of like going back to Benadryl really quick. I mean, it's with us because it helps with allergies, but it also helps with people who have like allergic reactions, like hives and all that stuff. And then also kind of like a saving money tip here coming up. For those of you that take those ZQuil, that's just Benadryl. But it's rebranded as a sleeping medication
now. Yeah.
Instead of all these
Benadryl. So if you look at the store right now and you look at diphenhydramine, which is Benadryl, the generic brand is like $2 for 50 tablets, whereas the ZQuil, which will help people fall asleep, but they don't care about the allergy portion, it's like $10 for 50. So you kind of got to think about it like that. Like look at the generic. So I kind of just saved everybody some money here. If you take ZQuil or you need something to sleep and you have Benadryl at home, it's the same. 25 milligrams a night is the usual dose. Yeah.
Yeah, and then going off of your question, it made me think of like how having seasonal allergies or allergic rhinitis affects our physical and psychological well-being. So by us taking the drowsy one, like it can some way help us with our sleep quality because
Potentially.
allergic rhinitis does affect or reduce your sleep quality with all the symptoms that you have. Like you'll wake up in the middle of the night like having a coughing fit, but then when you take these meds, like you can have good quality sleep.
Yeah, so that's actually a benefit of taking Benadryl over the other ones. So if you take your allergy medicine at night, help you fall asleep, and also if your allergy symptoms are worse at night, bam, you can kind of take care of it like two birds with one stone sort of thing. Yeah. I feel like I was going to say something, but not. So that's first line therapy, the antihistamines, the oral ones. I noticed that you brought the Flonase, which we talked about, or the fluticasone. So some people will be on a combo thing. So depending on your symptoms, if you have like runny nose, in addition to all the other stuff, and you have itchy eyes, usually people with runny nose and itchy eyes, they find relief from not only taking an oral medication, but also the nasal spray. Yeah. And can I borrow your thing for 1 second?
I do both when
She
I have
cleaned it,
all.
so if you're gonna use it,
No,
she
I'm not
cleaned
gonna use
it's
it.
fine. I'm
But
just kidding.
counseling
I
tip.
have a new one too.
No,
It's
it's
in my
okay. So
bag.
counseling tips. You can take off this tip and wash it with soap and water and just put it back on. If you're using a new one for the first time, you want to spray it into the air to prime it at least 3 to 5 times. Or if you're not using it every 3 months or something like that, or every 2 months, you might want to just prime the medication. So
Oh,
you know,
3 times? I think I only did
yeah, 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
That's fine. I mean, in
I
the
was like,
pharmacy, you'll see
I
different
didn't prime
variations
it,
of that.
so.
But you should prime it so that way you know the medication is getting through the tip of the medication. Okay. Another thing is, so our nose is kind of separated by a septum, like the middle. You want to angle it so it's on the outer part. So the outer parts of the inner nose are like mucous membranes. So it's kind of like where the medication will get absorbed the most. I've noticed that people, when they spray this, they have a fast snort, like or something like that. But
Oh man.
Oh no.
I know. Like, we do not condone that. But what you should do is really just like breathe in normally. So you spray and breathe. And ironically, it smells like flowers. If you've never taken this, it smells like flowers.
It does.
So I'm just gonna be like super frank here. I've been taking this incorrectly
That's
for the
okay.
last
So
like 2 years.
this is
A year.
This is why you should get counseling advice, or like always
Thank you,
talk to
Patty.
your healthcare team to see if you're taking things right.
Yeah.
So people take medications forever, but sometimes they forget how to take it, and that's where mistakes can happen. So that's just a quick counseling tip. So
So you shoot it up.
Yeah, no, because I treat it like saline spray, but maybe I'm even taking saline spray incorrectly.
Oh, I always
I'm just
angle.
like, oh yeah, I just
yeah,
go.
angle it so it's towards the outside. And some people even recommend like rubbing the nose closed like this, so that way you spread the medication around.
Okay.
Wow, massage your nose.
It's like a carnival game that I try to play. You know, like that thing that you try to hit, and so
No, it should just stay in the tip of your nose. If you're feeling the medication go all the way to the back to your throat, you snorted too hard.
Too bad.
Or,
Too
or,
bad.
you, or you're
Went
aiming,
too hard
you're
on
aiming
that.
way too far up there.
Okay.
So
Oh, okay.
yeah, because you want it to be absorbed into your system, and the easiest way is through the tip of your nose.
Okay.
And I know,
good to
like,
know.
in the directions, it says if it's like your first time taking it, you want to do like 2 sprays in each nostril for the
Right.
first 1 to 2 weeks, and then you taper off. Why do you taper off?
Yeah, so there's a couple reasons why. With steroids, they can build up in your body. So this isn't a large dose, and it's topical. It's not. It's kind of like on your skin, quote unquote. But like, we notice that with steroids, you don't always be on such a high dose all the time. And a lot of the times, the part that sucks is when someone's not on medication and they have allergies, their immune system is really, really overreacting. So you have all these histamine signaling and all that stuff. It's all built up. So you take a higher dose to kind of let it kind of cool off. And then once your immune system and everything's kind of cooled off, you can kind of taper off or lower the dose. Yeah. That's one way of doing it. Some people might do 1 spray in each nostril first and then escalate or de-escalate. It just depends on you and your pharmacist and physician.
Okay.
So we've been talking a lot about treatments. What about some unique things? We kind of mentioned Vicks.
Oh, yes.
Vicks.
For me,
Oh yeah, like home remedy-ish, like
Yeah.
what we've seen in our culture. It's actually really interesting.
Right.
dive into that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're listening to this, and a lot of Filipino families have that little Vicks jar growing up, and if you have a cold, they'll rub it on your chest or under your nose, and you'll
Your
immediately
back.
notice, or your back, and you'll immediately notice a relief in your congestion, right? Yeah, so kind of like same thing. You have that one. You had a cough drop. Whenever I
Vicks
have
as
some
well.
congestion,
Vicks brand.
I use like mints. So why does this work, right? Some studies, some small studies have shown that menthol, which is kind of like the chemical compound in mints, actually when you either ingest it or the menthol kind of rises and you breathe it in, it will activate the cooling receptors on your tongue and in your airway. And that kind of gives you like a sensation that like cold air is kind of relieving your sort of airway.
It's
So,
soothing. It's a very
it's a soothing
calming
feeling. But it's temporary. Obviously, it's not something that will work like Allegra or something like that. So it is a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But some people do find that relief with that, and it's not necessarily something that will make you sleepy or has any like crazy side effects, as long as you don't like overdose and put a whole jar of Vicks in your nose or something like that, which would kind of be burning.
Stick it up the whole day.
Yeah.
I know, just leave it there.
So that was just something interesting. I always thought, like, why do mints kind of like help my allergies? This is before I took allergy medication. And I was like, oh, it's because your cooling receptors in your airway actually get activated and kind of give you that sensation. It doesn't necessarily always clear your airway,
Yeah.
but it gives you the sensation that it's happening.
Then it's, oh, okay. Yeah, because all of them say like non-medicated, but
Right. It's like in like a herbal thing or like
like homeopathic.
Homeopathic, there you go.
in that realm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thought that was interesting, kind of a fun fact.
so these are the 24-hour relief, and these are like 10-minute relief.
It's kind of like, man, my allergy. Like
let you go.
I have a meeting. I have to go to class right now. I just need something real quick to help me. I'll say that it's okay. Like sometimes allergy medications don't work in a 24. Or sometimes the dose might not get absorbed appropriately. So it might be something to talk about your physician about adding one or two things, and one of them will be scheduled, and the other one will be like as needed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's just another thing. Yeah.
So you don't build like drug resistancy to it if you add on
No,
the,
so I think what you're talking about is a term called tachyphylaxis, where like the receptors kind of like go away. Yeah, so in this case, no. Based on the studies I've seen, people will take long-term allergy medications and be okay with it.
Yeah.
So you don't need to switch like every 6 months. Okay, I'm going to do Claritin from February to summer, and then from summer to winter, I'm going to do Allegra, and then kind of like
You
I need to
choose.
reset my
your
body.
body.
Yeah.
No, it's actually better to just be consistent with your
Okay.
medications. Yeah. If you find it's not working after maybe like a month, maybe I would consider switching, see if that works within the month. And if that doesn't work, you might want to talk to your physician about prescription allergy medications, adding two things. So one that attacks through the nose and one that you take orally. And then there's also, yeah, like I said, prescription medications that might also help.
Yeah, and like the one Narong has for your eyes.
Yeah,
so
there's also different ways to attack it. So, yeah. So I hope that was helpful.
Yes, very
This is probably like, we can go into so much detail with allergies.
I know, it's like
We're in season right now.
we're in season right now, and it's just wild because we try to make it like one podcast episode, but it's just such a big topic and relevant for our community that it's probably going to be a 2-episode, which I think is going to be the case for this one, right? We're gonna
Probably,
have another
or
episode for this one?
multi-episode thing, talking about. Actually, I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing we wanted to talk about is we talked about the clinical component of it, but also to go more in depth in the triggers, like the environmental portion of it, because a huge part of our work is environmental justice, planting trees, and trees kind of work twofold with our community, like it creates allergies, but also there's that long term of reducing emissions,
Right.
so it kind of works twofold. So I think that's part of the conversation we wanted to introduce like next, but at least right now, while people are getting hit with allergies left and right, like we definitely want to get you equipped to how can you treat your allergies and what can you distinguish. So appreciate you, Freddie and
Cool.
Quincel, for driving that.
So stay tuned for that part 2. I think that will be an interesting episode. So kind of to summarize before we wrap up, we have take away all the triggers to your allergies, and we have over-the-counter medications. See if you could save money by just using the generic versus the brand ones. And then talk to your physician and team if you think you need to optimize your therapy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you, Freddie.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
This is great. All right, are we signing off? Is this what's going on right now?
Yes,
So
yeah.
sad. It's always a fun time with you.
I know.
Yeah.
It's always a great time with you.
Yeah.
All right. Any last minute things? Like and subscribe to Traumacist RX.
There you go. Plug.
And at Echo Little Manila.
And I got nothing. So thank you very much. We hope to see you for the next episode.
Dawn, do we need to put
Oh,
Dawn stuff in
Dawn.
the description maybe? I don't know.
You know what? Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna
We
put
did
Dawn-
do an
Yeah.
episode about AB617 and also the asthma mitigation program. So
Okay.
tune into that episode.
No, we're going to drop at Little Manila Stockton. That's going to capture all the programs that we do. So I guess I'll plug in that last one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope you like this episode. Thanks for listening to the Echo Podcast.
Echo Pod. Echo.
See y'all next time.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.